Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Animation Appreciation Podcast. I'm your host, Liliana Stargazer, and today we will be covering Princess and the Frog. In the opening shot here, we see an image of New Orleans, and here in the United States, it is distinct due to its unique combination of nature and architectural style. We can instantly identify it as New Orleans because we're exposed to it constantly. This movie captures the vibrancy and the unique style that is this town. When Tiana and her mother are on the tram, we see a gentleman reading a newspaper and it says, Wilson elected, with 3 or 4 exclamation points. Great gumbo cook-off this Saturday. Take a ride on the Mississippi. Master named Softball of the Year. I'm assuming that's a last name. And at the bottom, election results. The sharp contrast between the rich and the poor sides of New Orleans, yet both the rich daddy and Tiana's dad both seem to be very loving parents. This sharp contrast is actually true to life. The simplicity of Tiana's home and how willing everyone is to share, as well as bring in some add-ins, shows community ties. This is the best representation I've seen of Southern hospitality, which is no longer common, but that is how Southern is viewed by the rest of the United States. That lamp Tiana has as a child, that's one I've seen at my grandmother's house when I too was a child, at least a similar style. I'm not sure if that's a Southern US thing or just a time period thing, but it's cute and a very homey touch. Also, the way Tiana's family's house is lit with a warm, soft light, while Charlotte's is lit by a large overhead light, giving both a slightly homey feel while still making Tiana's home cozier. When we see Tiana's room once she's older, she has a book of French cuisine. In case anyone is not from the US or simply isn't aware, New Orleans has more than one language and culture. There is both a French and English languages, both with Southern US accent, and the accent most people associate with this is known as a Cajun accent. That would be Ray's accent. Cajuns are also more likely to speak French, as most descend from French immigrants. That is why she's learning to cook some French dishes. Likely, she will modify recipes with a Southern add-in style, such as her shots of Tabasco. And the Cajun is actually the more famous Louisiana accent, even though it's very specific to the backwoods in mostly New Orleans. But every Southern town has backwoods accents, and they're all very different. In addition to this book, she has a picture of her mother and father and her together. On the tram, the magazine Tiana is reading says Ladies International Cookery, 35 cents, April edition. Annette's French Pastries, Bee's Knees Honey Cakes, adding the rich flavor to all your tasty treats. Bodelius Vanilla, I probably mispronounced that. The baker's only choice. Dr. Facilier's sign says voodoo magic and fortune telling. The newspaper also says Prince arrives today. Prince Naveen comes to the Crescent City press conference to be held. Rich playboy arrives in New Orleans this morning from the luxury liner SS Bee's Knees. This is the final stop in a whirlwind tour of the United States. Rumor has it the eligible and handsome prince is looking for a bride. True or gossip, the ringing of wedding bells has every lovely lady in town lining up to see Prince Naveen in all his royal glory. Dust off the old gowns and tiaras, the royal ball of all balls is scheduled for this week. That is actually repeated over and over, followed by, I'm going to mispronounce this bit, Maladakesh has sent her only son as ambassador for the small yet golden kingdom in an obscure, unheard of part of the globe. No one is all that sure where Meldonia is on the map. But does it really matter? The prince's sparkling teeth that no fan is questioning his financial setting. His new suit is all talk of the town. Fashion puppies are copying his glad rags and selling them in every shop on Bourbon Street. It then repeats what's already been said over and over. Probably mispronounced a lot of that. Chester Max 50-pound tomato wins prize. Annual Goosenhopper states Gumbo Fair is a smashing success. The menu that Tiana actually signs off on in her dream sequence says jambalaya, grillades, crawfish etouffee, and bananas Foster, which is actually everything that that Louis wants. Jazz was actually born in New Orleans. That is a legitimate fact. Facilier's wallpaper is nothing but skulls. The tarot deck he uses must be custom, as it is very wrong. And they can be accurate, but odds are you'll get a cold read from a tarot reader if you try to pay for it. I've seen friends get one and they lied about the meaning of every card using cold read to see what the person might want to know. By the way, a cold read is when someone uses clues such as clothes, jewelry, or vague statements to make someone think they know more than they do. It's all psychology and implied meanings, so you fill in the blanks and they lead you without you even noticing that they just read your facial expressions and crap. I strongly advise not buying a tarot reading unless you know the person or just really want to have some fun because they're not very accurate. The two men who say of her background, they are being classist, calling her poor. They are not, in fact, being racist. Also, to be clear, yes, women who wear shirts and dresses that are strapless absolutely have to do that little adjustment Charlotte did. The real estate agents are also dressed as a donkey, which is exactly what they actually are, donkeys. After Lewis played, and when Tiana was saying it was a pleasure to meet him, that thing he is doing with his trumpet is actually something never actually seen an animator address. That little valve he pushes is a real thing on trumpets that is missing from most cartoon trumpets. It's called a spit valve, and it's used to clear condensation, or in some cases spit, that builds up from breath inside the horn. There are two of them. One of them's on the front, which is the one that he clears on the tuning slide, used to keep the trumpet in tune, and one behind that on a ring slide. Really needs emptying. Most of us just, take that slide off and dump it. Also, Lewis puffing out his cheeks when he plays is wrong. You actually lose a great deal of air pressure, and it's one of the first things they teach you when you're learning to play trumpet. Do not puff out them cheeks. If it's not already apparent, I play trumpet. Mine is actually one designed for New Orleans musicians post Hurricane Katrina. Just a little fun fact. Small details like clearing a spit valve when you have someone playing a trumpet, that is what makes great animation, especially if you're showing a group who is known for loving live jazz music, and all of them have seen someone do that. New Orleans literally took, hey, everyone, go jazz it up for a night, and they did. It's actually kind of cool. As Facilier shows, you should never trust spirits. If you go into the debt to the wrong ones, you end up just like him. And the right kind are still dangerous. Enter Raymond, voiced by Jim Cummings. Look up his IMDb and you will find he voiced many characters. Likely as not, many of them are in your childhood Disney shows. Some of you will be able to tell it's Jim when in roles like this, other ones are much harder to tell. Lighting on the dandelions as the fireflies pass by with the little condensation on them is quite lovely. I also know that the trapper known as Two Fingers accent is supposed to be funny, but I've actually heard it. I am from the southern United States near Oklahoma and Arkansas, and we've had a flood of people from New Orleans before and after Hurricane Katrina. One or two had really thick accents, and you can hear it. They tend to run in families, and they're almost always from the backwoods. The less they talk to people outside of the family, the thicker the accent tends to be. Till you can swear they have corn growing out their ears, their accent's so thick. Cornbread and frog legs are actually a Southern classic. That being said, I'm going to say something that, as far as I know, no other Southerner will say. I do not like frog legs nor cornbread and do not understand. Naveen held on to one of the coins Mom Odie dropped on him because money is what he wants. And then he looked at Tiana dancing and realized he taught her not just to dance, but that she's what he needed. And while he's looking at her without even thinking, he drops the coin because it's no longer important. Ray Ray's light tells us his mood like Tinkerbell's light did. In case the joke was mixed, Bo, the butterfly, was acting as a bow tie. That's punny. Most women love cute and a bit silly to being smooth when it comes to men. The simple character development of his selfish to selfless. Just so you know, Hayakal is a Cajun term for doodad, whatchamahoozit, or any unknown item. So he's saying it's a voodoo thingamahoozit. Lottie's joke with the younger prince does make me very uncomfortable because he's only 6 and she's talking about marrying him. In the beginning, we also see a woman shaking out the magic carpet from Aladdin. There's also Ariel's father, King Trident, in a Mardi Gras parade float. This one could also be interpreted as simply Poseidon, but either one. Mama Odie tossed Aladdin's lamp past her pet snake while digging in the trunk. And the trolley Tiana takes to her second job is A113. Charlotte has Rapunzel and The Little Mermaid on her bookshelf. Well, that's all I was able to find today, so thank you for listening. And as always, if it's animated, someone did it on purpose. Thank you and have a great night.